this is Celeb. So I went ahead and I invented this invulnerable Deadeye build with the help of a few people. I actually saw a Reddit post recently that showed a Slayer version utilizing Blade Storm as its primary ability instead, and Overleech from the Slayer tree. I also worked with somebody named Jathy2046 that I actually found on PoE Ninja that was working on something extremely similar to this. And I was actually curious if he was able to get it working because I hadn't yet. And he showed me kind of the solution, which are these gloves that I'll get into talking about. But how exactly does this build work? So obviously you just watched me tank just about everything in the game. The build is 100% immune to all damage. So that means it literally cannot take damage as long as you're leeching. So the goal is to be able to leech. So in order to leech, we have these writhing jars that actually spawn little worms. That allows us to leech in advance. You'll actually see me use those inside of Maven and stuff just before the memory game so that we can pop it and go ahead and just tank really quick. On top of that, let's break down the actual math of it. So how are we actually immune? So the way we are immune is Strength of Blood. Strength of Blood gives us 1% less damage taken for every 2% life recovery per second from Leech. So our goal is obviously to get 200% life recovery per second from Leech. But it's not as easy as just stacking these 10% because our maximum total life recovery per second from Leech, all these 10% and 15% nodes that you'll wind up seeing, it's not as easy as that because we actually start with a base Leech of 20%. So our goal is to actually get that base Leech all the way up, and these just increase your maximum. So it just brings that 20% up to 30% as an example. So the way we actually get it is, to break down the math, is Vaal Pact will double your base Leech from 20 to 40. So that's right here on the tree. This is Vaal Pact, and that'll actually double it. From our total maximum, we want to increase it through the Hematophagy tree, which is 10%, 10%, 10%. We want to get it from the Leech Mastery, which is another 20% right there. We want to get it from Vitality Void. That's a 15%. We use 3 Adrenaline clusters, or 3 Adrenaline small clusters, sorry, which are 10%, 10%, and 10% up here. That's for a total of 40%. My goal here was to actually, you'll wind up seeing, if you saw the Slayer one before, he actually has a triple voices set up with 9 of these. My goal was to make or allow you to actually use a lot less of these so we could actually use some real clusters and get some damage. If you do the voices setup, by the way, you can also get Megalomaniacs that have like Adrenaline and crit or something like that, and I'm sure those are going to go up in price after this video. But right now you can probably pick up a couple for cheap. Taste of Blood is another 10%. I actually anoint it, even though we're right there on the tree. So you can just spec the 3 points and pick it up. It's really easy, but for this convenience, I actually ran out of points. I'm only level 97, so I had to just anoint it for simplicity. We get 30% of our amulet. Here's our amulet. It's a 30% maximum total life recovery per second from Leech Eldermod, tier 1, that we anoint all the way up to 30% from its 25%. We then also get 40% off the Replica Soul Strike Quiver, which is pretty core to this build, at least for any bow ones, because 40% is absolutely huge and extremely hard to get besides just right here. That winds up for a total of 195% increase to base Leech. Your base Leech is 40% after Vaal Pact. So that gives us a total of 118% base Leech, but we need 200% to become immune. So right now we're a little bit above 50% reduced damage taken. So in order to do that, you stack life recovery rate. So life recovery rate actually multiplies your base Leech. So in this case, we actually don't need much base Leech at all. We're actually just looking for a total of 69%, as you can see here. Nice. That's all we really need. 69% life recovery rate, and we'll be able to actually have full invulnerability. So the best ways to actually get life recovery rate, it's not on many things, which is unfortunate, but Transcendent Flesh is one of the key ones. Over here we spec a Transcendent Flesh. It gives us 25% life recovery rate, but it actually subtracts a ton of strength. So you'll see it is actually kind of hard to get strength in this build. I suggest finding many things that you can with strength on them. Similarly, we have a Middle Flesh that provides us 15% life recovery rate and minus 50 to strength. So just off those two, we wind up with a good chunk of our life recovery rate. We get 18% off of our belt, which is Torrent's Reclamation. Now, it's not only on Torrent's Reclamation, you can actually get synthesized bases with this as well. And you can just divine them all the way up to 18%. So once it's 15%, you can just catalyst it up. With Torrent's Reclamation specifically, it actually shares the energy shield mod on it, so you can actually just use Defense Catalyst. Kind of nice. Skip a bit of money there. And then the last piece is the Watcher's Eye, which is a 15% perfectly divine vitality one. These are actually pretty cheap right now, and because we use every single offensive aura in the game, you can actually pick them up for cheap. And what I mean by every single offensive aura that we pretty much can use in the game is we actually spec into Arrogance on the tree sorry, not Arrogance on the tree. We actually link Arrogance just directly on some things right here in order so we can reserve our life. If we're perfectly immune, it doesn't really matter what our life's at. We also have negative all res, pretty much completely up there, you know, no evasion rating, no armor. My energy shield doesn't matter whatsoever. My goal is that I'm a piece of paper, but I'm fully immune. So that's exactly what it winds up being. So I think it's pretty easy to find one of these Watcher's Eyes. You know, you probably won't be able to find the Zealotry one. If you do, great. It's not even the best one. Hatred with the Tax Crit would be the best one for this build. But that's really it. This specific build uses Cast on Crit Icespear as its primary thing, but this actually works with any, pretty much any bow build, and the reason is because it's just a shell. I chose Cast on Crit Icespear because I was able to get a decent chunk of damage, use Tornado Shot, which allowed me to leech from far distances. So overall, it was just a pretty strong ability, and that's actually what Jethu was also using. So I'm glad we were able to get on the same thing, but I think a min-max version, a good min-max version is Ellie Hit. And so I actually reached out to Hadouken, a guy that's known for making Ellie Hits, and we actually put together an Ellie Hit POB that goes over all of this stuff. So here's an example of the Ellie Hit POB that we actually put together. As you can see, we get 12 million damage. It's a fire Ellie Hit, you know, pretty standard Frenzy Charge stacker. Warning, the gear on this is pretty absurd. You'll see Frenzy Charge rings, all of that kind of stuff in order to make it work. But the principle's there. You know, if we can get it working with pretty much any skill, at the sacrifice of some damage here too, you could probably bring this down to say 7 mil and have it a lot more within what we'd say reason for money. But it does utilize, in order to do this, it actually squeezes in a Mage Blood, which is really interesting. So the way it actually squeezes in a Mage Blood is by a double Watcher's Eye. And now the doubles Watcher's Eye is extremely expensive right now, and I assume it'll just go up in cost after this video too, but it's actually one that uses Vitality and Malevolence to give you increased recovery rate. So as you can see here, this one's not perfectly divined one, but a perfectly divined one will get you 27% recovery. And that's pretty much it. It works with every single thing. I'll include the shell, which is this POB right there. It was 86 passive points in order to achieve it. But basically, if you're any bow skill or anything like that, it doesn't matter. I actually would like to move Strength of Blood over here for Supreme Ego, because then you can use a Thread of Hope here instead and pick up all the really good nodes over here. So you can play around with it. It would work with pretty much anything. You could undoubtedly get a Flicker Strike version going. I would probably go Slayer in order to do that for the Overleech. And that's actually kind of one of the key points of this, is we need to solve Overleech, and that's where these gloves come into play. So you can actually find a few of these gloves on the market right now for under an X, but that's probably going to change in the future because they are cores. So this is our only way of getting Overleech as a Ranger or any class that is not Scion or Slayer, is utilizing these, and you can actually get an implicit that is maximum total life recovery. That's pretty hard to actually find. You'd have to replace something in this build otherwise. If you can't find that, I mean, you can find these gloves pretty cheap. They just drop off Cortex, and people normally leave them on the ground, but there's not many with the maximum total life recovery synth implicit. So keep your eyes out for those. If you snag one, you know, way to go. I assume they're going to go up in price quite a bit. Right now, they're only an X at the time of making this video, so best of luck on grabbing one. But yeah, that's the whole build. Hope you guys enjoyed. If you have any questions, feel free to ask. I'm trying to figure out other builds that this can also work for, because it can really work for anything. People have already brought up my other thing, doing it with Flicker Strike or Bone Shatter. I specifically don't think it would be amazing with Bone Shatter. And I kind of left my comments as to why Flicker Strike. I think it could work, but I would go Slayer for the Leech. Overall, I really like the idea of doing it on a bow build, because you can stay far away and it makes it pretty clean. But yeah, enjoy your Complete Invulnerability. I doubt this build will last, possibly not even the entire league, but we'll see. I may, you know, it's definitely going to be dead by 3.17, but have your fun while you can. Alright guys, thanks. Peace. Bye.